about craft catch-up. Don't even know what episode this is. It's a very overdue episode. But you know the saying where it never rains, it pours? Well, that has definitely been the past month for us. It's been a nightmare. And he has been so settled while I've been sat here working today. He has now decided to go crazy. I've been sat reading for a couple of hours. With work, I've signed up to a Halloween tour, to do the Halloween tour, so I've had to learn my new script. So, one moment. Bud, stop it. Buddy, right, so that was Buddy. I have gone and started saying, what's that? And he thinks it's something out in the garden, so he just decided to go and stand guard for a minute. That dog. Anyway, yeah, that's Buddy there. If you've watched any of my past videos, you know about Charlie. I will explain about Charlie near the end of the video, where he is, why he's not deciding to climb up on my lap the minute I start filming. But yeah, anyway, let's get on to the episode. So I actually have a few finished objects, but I do not have a single one of them with me to show you. So I'm going to have to talk about them. So the first one is Frankenstein, and it was a treat bowl. It is a pattern that is made by Mary. I will link it down in the description box. It is a paid for pattern, but it is a really good pattern. I've done a few of Mary's patterns and they are amazing, very well written. And it was how I learned how to crochet arms into amigurumis, which is something I absolutely love. I think especially when an amigurumi is going to be for a child, I find it's a lot more secure, and plus I end up with wonky arms if I don't sew them in, if I don't crochet them in. So yeah, this is the Frankenstein. I will have put a photo up. I did use a 3mm hook, but it did call for worsted weight and a bigger hook, but I don't have worsted weight in my stash. Most of my stash is DK with a lot of now sock yarn and finger and weight yarn. But yeah, I decided to use what I had in stash rather than buy stuff. Especially some areas I wasn't going to be using that much of it, the colour, to warrant buying a full ball. So yeah, use stash yarn. I've used Starcraft Special DK in, I think it's grass green, black, graphite, Jaffa, dark brown, white, and then there's a light blue and fondant, I believe it is. But yeah, they're, oh, cloud blue, that was the light blue one. So they're all the colours I've used for it, but the multicoloured is from a shop in the UK called Poundland. It's just like your version of like the Dollar Tree in like probably Canada and the US, but you don't actually you get some good bargains in Poundland, but quite often not what you see people with their dollar store hauls, and a lot of stuff there is no longer pounds. So yeah, but yeah, this multicoloured yarn's from Poundland, so it's a £1 ball for a 50g ball. This is a multicoloured DK weight, and yeah, you get 3 for 2, so yeah, 3 ball, 150 grams for £2, so that's not too bad with a bargain there. Yeah, so it's not bad, and I felt like these colours just screamed Halloween, so that's why I used it for Frankenstein. And what I did with the basket was I actually just improvised it. I just made it as big as I wanted, and then basically made a circle as big as I needed to, and then just went up until I felt it was big enough. And this is a treat bowl, and it's going to be for my brother-in-law. He's recently discovered Halloween. He's not from the UK, and he fell in love with it, fell in love with Halloween, so I was like, here's a little treat bowl for him. But my auntie saw me gifting it, so I've now been requested to make 3 more treat bowls. So I'm going to do them a bit different because there is only one pattern for the treat bowl that's by Mary Smith, so I've bought a couple of her other ones, and I'm going to sort of turn them into it, and I'm going to be doing a witch, vampire and Frankenstein again, but as I said, they're going to be totally different from this one that I have done, and I also need to get them done by Halloween this year, and they are for my auntie's grandkids, so my cousin's kids really. There's 3 young boys, so yeah. On my mum's side, I should just say, it is weird with me and my cousins on my dad's side. Did I say mum's side or dad? On my dad's side, there's a massive age gap, and that's a result of my dad marrying late and having kids late, and being the youngest one anyway. So I think the closest one in age to me is around 16 years older than me. So a lot of them have kids that are just a few years younger than me. Like, you know, I've got one cousin who their birthday's 2 days before mine. I turned 28. They turned 38. No, they weren't 38. They were 40 something. They're around 20 years older than me, so yeah, it would have been 48, that's it. 48, there you go. So as you can see, big age gap between me and them. You know, this cousin, whose birthday was before mine, they've got a fully grown daughter who's just finished university. So, you know, yeah, makes for a bit weird, but these kids are young kids. So one's a toddler, I believe the youngest one is. So yeah, anyway, I'm making them. The next finished object is the 3 flower pens by Not Monster. So I did a sunflower, daffodil and a rose. I just grabbed bits and pieces that were in my stash, and I did modify the patterns a bit. What's it called? It did have leaves on the patterns, however I didn't put the leaves on. When I attached the flowers on and then went to attach the leaves, and I just found that you couldn't find a decent spot to be able to put them where they weren't interfering with the hand, or they went too close up to the flower that it looked a bit ridiculous. You know, it was all bunched up at that top, so I just left the little leaves off. Again, this was a paid-for pattern. It was from a book by Not Monsters, their flower pen book. Now, I have done a pattern by Not Monsters before, and I will say they are not my favourite patterns. Sorry, just saw someone outside walking past. I find at times they do lack on the details, and if I am paying for a pattern, I sort of expect a bit more detail. For example, with the pen, the stem, it just told you how to start off, and it went make as long as needed. Now, I know obviously depending on what size pen you're doing, but you know, maybe put a guidance in for an average size pen. You know, I was using an average pen, and I'm constantly having to, you know, count it and measure it, whereas if it said for an average size pen you do X amount of rows, then I'd have done that and then sort of seeing if I needed to add more, take them away. Just felt it'd been easier. And in other parts it'd be like, you know, magic ring and then a number, and it assumes that you know that that number means you're going to do X amount of single crochets, which doesn't, you know, that's not what that means. You know, it could be like, you know, double crochets, triple crochets, half doubles. I just felt it really lacked on the details. And the original pattern I did by Not Monsters, again, that was a paid-for one. It was a uterus I did. It was the same as this book, so I don't think it was a one-off. When I, you know, assumed this pattern was, you know, oh, it's a one-off, you know, it could have been an earlier pattern. But no, yeah, it lacks on the details. It's not suitable for a beginner at all. There are times where you've sort of got to guess things, you know, it'll just tell you just attach, and I'm like, attach whereabouts? Tell me, you know. So yeah, there was a lot of guesswork with it, which again, if it was a free pattern I wouldn't have actually really complained, but because it is a paid for pattern, I feel like, you know, okay, I'm spending money, it should be a bit more, especially this was coming in book form. So yeah, not the best, but again, it's not a terrible pattern. Would I still use patterns in the book? Yes. But would it be like, would this designer be someone that I'm like, oh, you should check out their patterns, they're great, a bit like I do with like Made by Mary Smith. I'm like, I love her patterns, use them. But with this, I'm like, meh, really. So yeah, so they're my only finished objects. The pens were for my sister and 2 of her colleagues. Now, my sister is becoming a psychotherapist, and so her and her colleagues, and I thought I hope they enjoy them, and they did. My sister absolutely loved them. She's kept the daffodil one, and you know, I just think it's gonna be nice, you know, some of the people going in there, going to see my sister and her colleagues are, you know, really struggling, and, you know, seeing bright pen, you know, that would mean it was the same place I went for when I was doing my PTSD therapy. And I think if I just saw Louise holding a bright pen with a big flower on, I'd be like, that's amazing. It's just one of those things that just puts a little smile on your face. So hopefully maybe it does that for someone. But either way, they all love them, and that's the main thing. So yeah, that's all my finished objects. I know, as I said, it's been a while, and I've not done that much, so apologies. Yeah, so just, it's been crazy. I'll explain at the end, obviously, where it's all been. But anyway, let's get on to the whips. So first, what I have been working on is the Mermaid Tail. I think I've only got about 1 or 2 rows of this, and then I think actually it's another 2 colour repeats, and then I can start actually turning it into a tail. So my sister found her old, my older sister found her old Mermaid Tail the other month, and her kids saw it and they were like, this is the coolest thing ever. But it was made for a grown adult, so it was obviously absolutely massive. And so my sister was like, could you make these, and will you make one for the girls? And I'm like, yes and yes. My nieces are 2 of the most crochet worthy people I know. Everything I make for them, they adore. I made my mum a crochet uterus as a joke gift, and my eldest niece absolutely loves it. Whenever she goes to my mum's, what she's playing with is a crochet uterus. She thinks it's a crown. I've not started going through the birds and bees with her, so she can think it's a crown until she's a bit older. She's 5, she doesn't need to know that sort of stuff yet. But yeah, anyway, yeah, so that's what I'm working on. The pattern is a free pattern by Yarn Utopia, but you can pay for a PDF version. And it's a really good pattern, really enjoy it. It does call for worsted weight yarn, again, yarn that I don't really use. So what I've actually done is I've using a DK yarn, and I was just going to do one of the adult sizes and just hope it fit. But then you actually get told how you can make it bigger and smaller. So that's what I've done, is I've actually made it smaller. I thought I was going to have to make it a bit bigger, but no, I've made it smaller. And yeah, I'm working on it at the moment. The only different thing I've done is it is separate all the way down there, and then you seam it up. But I've started doing it in the round, as I find it easier weaving in the tails as I go when it's in the round compared to if it was backwards and forwards. And plus it means I don't have to seam it up. And with this going to the kids, you know, it's going to 2 young kids, it's going to be a bit rough and tumble. So I think doing it in the round, it is a lot more stable, less likely to come apart than if I was seaming it up myself. My sewing skills are not that great, but I'm using a 5mm hook and DK weight yarn. The colours that I'm using is, got it written down here, the blue is Aster, yellow citrus, and the pink is fondant. These are colours I had in my stash. I'm doing both the girls in the same colours, so there is no arguing. But the thing I am doing is I'm going to do the tails different colours. So one is going to be blue, one's going to be yellow. I am not doing any of them pink, because if I did one tail pink, suddenly they both want the pink tail. They love pink. Whereas if I do blue and yellow, they're not going to argue over that. And my sister can tell them apart, so that if, you know, one of them's like, so-and-so's playing with my Mermaid Tail, she's like, no, she isn't. The yellow one belongs to there. So yeah, that's with that one. And I'm using a 5mm hook. Don't know whether I said that or not. But yeah, really enjoying it. Really, it's a really relaxing project, and it's forwards and back, and hopefully I will get it done by Christmas. That's the goal, is Christmas for it. The next thing I've been working on, oh no, needle's gone through the ball of yarn. Next thing I have been working on is my jumper. I don't know why, but whenever I do ribbon on like a jumper, it always curls up. And this is even when I go down a needle size. So this is the bottom of the jumper here. Stitch marker is where I was last time, and I've finished it. far, as I said, curls up. I'm going to need to block it, which I'm not a fan of blocking. I try and avoid it. I just don't think it's necessary. I'm like, why do it? It's an extra step. But then, yeah, obviously, going to have to block it because that just curls up. So, yeah. That's it there. So I'm now on to the sleeves, and what this pattern is, the Salem sweater. It is a painful pattern. Again, like all the other patterns, I will link down in the description box below. But the thing about this pattern is it's not just a regular jumper, it's the sleeve detailing. So that is the sleeve there. It's my first time actually doing the bobbles in a knit stitch. I've never done them before. I've done bobbles in crochet but never knit. So yeah, they're not absolutely terrible. I've been working on this jumper forever though, so there are bits where it's pulling and peeling, pilling. There are bits where it's like, you know, a bit misshapen and pulled, but it's going to do that anyway when I put it on, so I'm not majorly fussed. Yeah, I'm just looking forward to getting it done and that, and I'm hoping that now I'm on the sleeves it shouldn't be too long. Saying that, I am going to have to focus mainly on the Mermaid Tails and the amigurumis for Christmas, as the amigurumis, for Halloween, sorry, as the amigurumis for Halloween are not that, they're not small. It's going to be, you know, bit of a trek on them, so yeah, it's going to take a bit of time, so I'm going to have to focus on them and on the Mermaid Tails for Christmas, as you know, they're quite big and they just take a while. It seems like you feel like you've been crocheting on for ages, and then you look and you've done like 3 rows and it's like, great. There's a lot of weaving in ends on that as well. With amigurumis I find they're just easy, just put the tail in, snip it, done. So yeah, there, 2 of my whips, and my third and final one is a new one, and it is a sock. So Alex of My Yarny Corner and Sue of Distant Stitches, they've both decided to create a sock along, and it's supposed to be Halloween themed. I think it's called the Spooky Feet Mal, and they have been really good, Sue and Alex, where they've said, you know, anything that you can associate with Halloween for whatever reason counts. You could, you know, as pumpkin's orange, do orange, or, you know, like, the pattern's got the name Sarah in, and one of the witches on Hocus Pocus is called Sarah. There you go. You know, you don't have to be, like, very, you know, focused in on it, just, you know, very loose, but then I couldn't find a Halloween themed pattern that I liked. None of my yarns screamed out to me Halloween. So I've decided to make my own pattern. Had a little bit of an idea. It took a while once I got started, but now I'm past the foot. It's okay. Look. It looks like a red slipper and witch's stripy sock. It's inspired by the Wizard of Oz, and that scene where the witch gets crushed by a house, and you just see her feet poking out, and that's what's inspired by. And I know what some of you are thinking, like, you know, oh, you know, the Wizard of Oz is not a Halloween movie. No, it's not. But a witch is Halloweeny, and that's what I'm doing. So what I actually ended up doing was I knitted the front bit, the bottom bit, the toe in the round, and then I knitted it back and forth, so a row of knitting, a row of purling, up and down to get the colour. I didn't pick up the stitches here on the first one, just because I needed to see it a bit separate, sort of thing. But when I'm going to do the second one, I am going to pick up the stitches there on the side, so hopefully it will, I don't have to seam it up. This one I'm obviously going to have to seam up because there's a hole there, but the other one, yeah, I shouldn't have to seam up, because I'm going to do it. But it was just while I was trying to get it figured out in my head, it was easier to not pick up the stitches on the opposite side. Yeah, that's the way it was. And I didn't use the small needles. I did it magic loop. I might actually do want double pointed needles for the back and forth when I'm doing the next one. Yeah, but I was using a longer needle. This one, it's a bit hard if you're peeling with the smaller needles, because if you have a little look at these tips, so that tip's obviously directly a lot longer, so you'd knit with, you're holding the big one in your hand. So when I was going and doing the pearls, it was a bit uncomfortable, so that's why I had to go and do the bigger one. And I am using Drops Fable yarn to create this in a 2.5mm hook. The Drops Fable is in the colour black, off-white and red. So yeah, that is all my whips. That is what I've been up to. Not a lot considering the past few weeks. Like I'm quite a few weeks overdue on this video, but it has been a few weeks from hell. Parts of it have been hell, but like, you know, not all of it. But it's been a nightmare from start to finish the past few weeks. Once one thing gets sorted, another thing kicks off. So first we had my sister had a leak in her home. So my sister and my mum live in the same home, and basically they had a leak. They had to expose the leak in order to get for the insurance to get the plumber to come out. They had to expose where the leak was. So my sister and brother-in-law were trying to find it within this wall, and then they saw what they thought was asbestos. So my mum was at work at the time, and they were like, don't come back home. To my mum, my sister and my brother-in-law had to get out the house. You know, and it was an absolute nightmare. Like, you know, they had everything in the home and they couldn't bring any of it out with them, because, you know, we don't know what had got exposed, and you don't want to bring something that has been exposed to asbestos. Say for example, like some clothes, you don't want, if they've got the asbestos on them because they've been exposed, you don't want to then bring them to another place, because then that place is contaminated effectively. So it was a nightmare. It was about a day or two until my brother-in-law had a friend, his friend went over to go and have a assess of the damage, all, you know, geared up. It wasn't asbestos, thankfully. It was textured wallpaper. And you're probably thinking, how on earth could you not tell it was textured wallpaper? No, honestly, when I've gone and seen it, I'm like, yeah, I can understand why you thought that was asbestos. But either way, it's not. The leak was still there though, and then there was all the rigmarole of getting that sorted, you know, and trying to sort out things. In the meantime, my young sister went on holiday and I helped care for my mum, so I'm having to then sort stuff out for my mum that my sister would normally do. So yeah, it was a tough few weeks. Then at our house, the grill caught fire. So we had a fire in the kitchen. Thankfully, my dad managed to keep it contained to mostly the grill. It was only at the back where it was coming out. At the front, it didn't come out. So we had the firemen out. They were absolutely great, put it out, and they assessed, like, they had a little look and said, right, this has all been fire damage, and gave us a report for the insurance. But yeah, then we've had to go through the insurance, have them come out and have a little look and tally it up against the firefighters' reports, you know, to make sure obviously we weren't, you know, saying, oh yeah, the microwave got hit by the fire when the microwave was nowhere near when it happened, you know, sort of thing. So we've been going through that with all the insurance. The good news is they are, you know, not disputing anything, but it has been a bit of a nightmare. We've got to get a new washing machine, dishwasher, oven. Thank God the dishwasher and the washing machine are just about still going, but with the damage they could break at any moment, we've been told, so we are prepared for that. The floor's knackered where they've had to pull everything out. Some of the sides are done, the worktop's knackered. Good job we've got air fryers, because otherwise we wouldn't be able to cook anything. I'm now really craving spaghetti bolognese, because obviously can't have it with not having a hob. That's one thing the air fryer's got to do. Oh yeah, it's been crazy. So do you mind? So the yeah, chaos. But the insurance have agreed with everything and they're paying it all out. And then, but come here, sorry, you start to roll around again. And then the worst thing to happened 8 days ago. Bud, stop shaking, come here. Give him a stroke and then he's not gonna sit there and shake. So yeah, the worst thing that happened was 8 days ago. That's been the last thing to happen. So it's all about Charlie. Sadly, Charlie has passed away. I'm gonna try and say it without crying. I've only cried about 5 days out of the 8. Okay, my days go on. My days, we assess how well they do with have I cried yet. There's always the possibility to cry. So I'm just gonna, go over what's happened because I've had a lot of well wishes. I've had a lot of people asking about Buddy. So I'm just gonna go over everything. So if this is, something that might upset you, click off. I don't want to upset anyone. Thank you for watching and I'll speak to you all soon. But yeah, just what's happened with Charlie. Basically, Charlie's got a heart murmur. He's had a heart murmur ever since he was born. And it's never stopped him. He's always been an energetic and hyper little bugger. Jumps all over the place. He's absolutely wired. And then we did get told with them, if we ever can, with his heart, to just count his how much he's breathing in and out, and that should give us an idea of whether his heart's okay or not. We got told that anything between 15 and 30 breaths is normal, 24 is ideal. The night of the 6th of September, I was lying in bed and he was lying right next to me and I'm stroking his head and I was counting his breaths and he did 22 that minute, so nothing was amiss. In the morning we woke up, he was a hyper little bugger running around the place. My dad was cooking cooking breakfast and he's under my dad's feet, desperate for any little morsel that dripped onto the floor. Doesn't matter that he's got a full food bowl. No, human food. Yeah, that's it. So yeah, he was doing okay. Now with Charlie, with his heart murmur, it causes him to have a cough. And he was sat under. My dad had the legs on the recliner out, and Charlie was sat under there. That was like one of his favourite places to lie. And he starts coughing, but he just doesn't stop. So my dad calls Charlie out and he doesn't actually seem to probably walk out, he sort of crawls out, and my dad notices Charlie's head's tilted to one side. So he shouts me in, I come running in, and I see his head, and instantly in my mind I'm thinking he's having a stroke with his head, because it seemed like that. And so I went upstairs to go and get, because I had some really skinny shorts on and I was like, I'm not going to the vets and that, so I went to go and put a pair of leggings on. So I went upstairs and came back down, and Charlie had tried to follow me upstairs because, again, he wants to follow you over here, he was hyper. And my dad said he couldn't actually move his back legs, he was pulling himself along with his front legs. And so we called the vets up and they said, we've not got anyone in our surgery, but we were in they have a few branches, so they said go to the main hospital, which was about 10-15 minutes away, and we'll tell them you're coming. So we got there, and as soon as I walked in, carrying him in, the receptionist went to that Charlie, called one of the vets out and they came, took him straight away, put us in a separate room, and a few minutes later the vet came in. He was in heart failure, which it's something that can happen with King Charles Cavaliers. They are prone to having heart issues. Again, he had a heart murmur. It didn't matter about the murmur. It was, his heart starting to get, going. He was 12 years old, and an average Cavalier, they said between 9 and 14, I think it was. So, he was in the middle of that on the lifespan, and they said now we can give him heart medication and it prolonged his life by months, maybe a year maximum. But they said the other thing is he's got something going on that's cranial. They said we don't know exactly what it is without doing tests, whether it's a brain tumour or a stroke or anything like that. They said, but treating that is, you know, going to be difficult. We don't know whether he'd withstand the treatment because of the age of him. They didn't know whether it progressively get worse and it caused more problems and stuff like that. And their advice was that, you know, it's going to be best to put him down. So me and my dad agreed to get him put down. But he was so peaceful when he went to sleep. I did sneak him because, again, he loved food, so I snuck him a few treats while the vet went out to go and get the medication, and, you know, they were like, that's fine. And he was with me and my dad, you know, we were giving him lots of love and attention, and he was himself right up to the very end. Like, he was like licking my face while we were in the vets, you know, while we were waiting for the vet to come in and stuff like that, you know, and you just saw him just relax as they started medicating him. And yeah, he was very, very peaceful. So yeah, unfortunately he's no longer with us. I mean, there's been difficult days obviously, and then there's been, you know, days were better. Yeah, it's just been hard. And then, in typical of our family style, you know, humour gets involved. I don't remember saying this because it was a bit of a blur once he passed away, but apparently I did say to my dad, at least he passed away a week before he was booked in to get his hair cut, as we didn't have to pay for it. So yeah, so yeah, we're getting there, and little buddy's getting there, aren't you? Can say hello. So you doing okay? Doing okay? He's looking at the front door. So he's been getting lots of love and attention. On Sunday, my auntie and uncle hosted a family barbecue, and we said I said I don't want to leave Buddy home alone for too long. My mum totally agreed, so we spoke to my auntie and uncle, and they said no, bring Buddy along, it's going to be in the garden. So we were there, and Buddy got lots of love and attention, and, you know, any bits of food that people weren't eating, there you go, Bud. You know, yeah, so we got lots of love. He's been getting lots of attention. He's not been getting left alone. He's been really clingy, but he's starting to settle down. He, just because I'm out of the room doesn't mean he's necessarily going to follow me now. Like, you know, he can be sat here in the kitchen, like in the living room, and I can go out into the kitchen, and he's not, you know, I need to see you now, sort of thing, which he was before, and he's getting there. We now leave the front door open. We live on a walkway, and Buddy is a very nosy dog, but Charlie could jump the fence in the front garden, so we couldn't leave the door open with Charlie around. So what we do now is, because Buddy can't jump it, we leave the front door open, and he loves running in and out and seeing everyone who passes on the walkway. So yeah, we're doing okay, we're getting there, but yeah, it's been a rough few weeks, and that's where things have gone. So yeah, but before I go, do just want to ask a quick favour of yours. This crafty community is amazing, and I love how we all come together for each other, and it doesn't matter whether you just watch videos, you create videos like sporadically, or you do them daily, whatever. We are, you know, we are one community, no matter what what your role in that community is. And there is someone in our crafty community who could need some thoughts, prayers, good wishes, whatever you send, whatever you believe in, please send them to the way of the lovely Mary. Mary will be watching this video, no doubt. I do know Mary in person. I've had the opportunity to meet Mary in person. She's absolutely amazing. She radiates positivity. Like, whenever I'm around Mary, I can't help but smile, and when we get on the phone, it's never for 10 minutes, it's always for over an hour, making each other laugh. And she's amazing. She's been through so much, but then she's still, you know, just so smiley and lovely and happy. And unfortunately, in the past month, Mary's had some really bad news, and she's got a lot going on at the moment, and I know she could appreciate any thoughts and prayers. So whatever you have, please send them Mary's way. She's absolutely amazing. and yeah, she's so lovely. So Mary, take care. I hope you've had a wonderful time in Disney. She's just been in Disney. Very, very jealous. But yeah, sending all the love your way. But yeah, we're gonna go. He's starting to shiver a bit, so I'm gonna have to go and put a little coat on him. But yeah, we're gonna go. Hope you're all doing well. Hope you're all staying safe, taking care, and I will speak to you all soon. Bye.